Gunfire at an army base near Bamako raises fears of a coup in Mali. Gambia government to shut down illegal child care centers after sex abuse reports. And Ghanaian presidents presided over the commissioning of Africa's Free Trade Secretariat in Accra. Well, these and more coming on The World Today. Many thanks for joining us, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. Now, fears of a possible coup attempt in Mali are rising after news agency reports said gunfire was heard at an army base near the capital Bamako on Tuesday, citing several witnesses. Mali is currently entangled in a political crisis as protests continue with calls for the President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta to step down. Several high-ranking politicians and officials are said to have been detained, including Finance Minister Abdoulaye Daffé and the National Guard's Chief of Staff, according to news agencies. Soldiers are said to have fired their guns into the air in a military base in Kati, a town about 9 miles from Bamako. There were lots of them and they were very nervous. A doctor in the town is quoted as telling French news agency AFP. The current government of Ibrahim Keïta has received numerous criticism on how it has managed the current Islamic insurgency in Mali and how it has not fulfilled the interests of Malians. And from that, we move to matters of the UN FAO, of course, because the UN Food and Agriculture Organization has launched a massive control operation to curb the spread of a desert locust infestation to mitigate the impact of food security in Kenya. FAO trained hundreds of National Youth Service Corps as part of its action plan to boost the government surveillance and control of the worst desert locust invasion in the country. Details of that in this report by Sona Tunkara.
The East Africa is seeing its worst swarms of locusts in many decades. The unprecedented and devastating locust attack in Kenya, where the first reports of a locust invasion emerged in February 2020, has left many farmers in a state of dismay. A farmer in Kaleme Orok, Luchom Ekiru, said he is in a state of despair because his crops cannot withstand the locust invasion.
I was expecting a harvest to feed my family and take the children to school. Everything is gone now.
Kaleme Okoro is a 100-hectare communal farm which enables farmers to have their own plots where a variety of crops are grown. Over 600,000 hectares have been controlled across the East Africa region from January to August. The FAO representative in Kenya, Tobias, said the UN agency is committed to supporting farmers in the fight against pests, hunger and disease.
He said he will not give up. He's a farmer, he's a soldier. He needs more equipment, he needs more support for him to continue with the war to fight against the hunger. So I'm happy that as FAO and together with the county government and the government of Kenya, we will also not give up on our efforts to support the farmers in the fight against the pests, hunger and diseases.
The ongoing infestation of the ravenous agricultural pest has caused significant damage to crops in Turkana. Many engage in the sales of surplus in local markets in addition to growing food for their families. But this year, their crops and income have been decimated by the infestation of desert locust.
If the locusts have come later, when the crops were ready, at least I could have harvested some food for my family. That would have been more bearable. Now, I don't know what to do.
The region had a series of droughts since 2016, and the multiple layers of threats that the communities said have caused acute food insecurity. forecast from the recently released Global Report on Food Crisis indicated that more than 25 million people will experience acute hunger in Eastern Africa in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic will likely further undermine food security. A single desert locust swarm, which can contain up to 150 million insects per square kilometer, is capable of eating as much food in a day as 35,000 people. In Turkana County, Kenya, massive efforts have gone into both aerial and ground operations to control and contain a second generation of locusts, either at hopper or at swarm stage. The FAO estimated that over 500 billion locusts have been killed in the entire region. However, the UN agency warned that the threat of possible reinfestation towards the end of the year will call for careful and continued surveillance. For iAfrica TV, Sohna Tunkara.
And from the report in Kenya, where locusts continue to disrupt farming activities, we come back home because the Gambia government said Tuesday it will close all unauthorized child care centers or private residential care homes in operation within the Gambia effective this month. Henceforth, any person or organization found operating an unauthorized child care center or private residential care home shall face the full force of the law, the Department of the Social Welfare said in a statement. The decision follows reports on child abuse and exploitation in local orphanages last week, resulting in the immediate closure of the Penny-Appeal Gambia orphanage. The Department of Social Welfare under the Ministry of Women, Children and Social Welfare is responsible for certifying persons and organizations that run charity care homes. Under Gambia's child rights laws, a person found guilty of managing or operating an unauthorized child care center or private residential care home could face a fine up to $50,000, up to $50,000 or get jail for 2 years or both fine and jail time. And of course, next, a Japanese oil vessel stuck off the coast of Mauritius has split into two parts. The MV Macasio oil carrier ran aground on a rift in Mauritius last month, threatening a marine ecological disaster around the Indian Ocean Island. Experts of the island's disaster management committee are worried about the situation, as there are still about 3 cubic meters oil remaining in this ship. Details of that in this report.
The MV Wakashio has been grounded off the coast of Mauritius for over 3 weeks. At least 1,000 tons of the oil it was carrying has already spilled into the Indian Ocean. To make matters worse, the ship broke into two on Saturday afternoon. Some of its parts are above the water, while others sank in the reefs. The next task for workers will be to tow the front part of the ship hundreds of miles into the sea, where they plan to sink it. But if the bad weather continues, it will delay efforts to move the ship. The island's National Crisis Committee says there is still approximately 30 cubic meters of oil left in the ship's engine room. Coral and marine life remain endangered.
The wildlife has been affected there because we have a lot of sensitive areas there. We have Blue Bay Marine Park, we have L'Île Secret, we have other places which has been affected. They are very sensitive areas. So a lot of work that was discussed in the morning, how we are going to clean it in the first place and then rehabilitate it over the months and years. Because that's going to take a long time to get rid of the oil, but the rehabilitation is going to take quite a bit of time, and we have been discussing this with all the different experts from overseas.
To prevent against further oil contamination, booms and oil skimmers have been installed to try and protect vulnerable coastal sites.
And from the report there in Mauritius, we come back home again because the recent increase in the number of coronavirus cases in the country is said to be due to the people continuous crowding at markets. But vendors at the Serekunda markets have debunked such claims. According to some business owners, they are not responsible for rapid increase of cases. And the limited operating time is also affecting their business activities. Details of that in this report.
Non-essential business owners at the Serekunda market said they cannot be blamed for the rapid increase in COVID-19 cases in the country, as they are strictly adhering to the health precautionary measures to avoid helping the spread of the virus. They said limiting their operating time to only 3 hours a day from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. has affected their lives as individuals. Keba Jame, a used clothing seller, said if anyone is to be blamed for the rapid increase in cases, it should be the government because it has been a bit inefficient towards the prevention of the virus.
Paramilitary fonkoli yawlo jurumin tol fe marché ko wol fankatal yamal la ñay bu kalo ka meng bodal bebe friri molbe dum kannal la tro molbe dum kannal sa fele fo slan ko ñi nga kambul kuti me a lonko na la sa tasareta nin ko moma a contrôle no kotenge so ko bina o mudala ye jiyo bula be bonta banko de ko bina o jiyo kole ta ko no wala kadan do laman sakundal il faut ñaabe jiyo la be bon kan ya ja bonta already e ko bina kola ata ko no la so a bilemulo mosi fengo fon tol be ngom tol kam bulo chodi man sakundale ito le kyalesta bar Gambia dingol ya tra because ni de fongo baaje hanne tibil jebe diaspora sol men beje e Gambien ko ye makoy bakel dul beje ka safunu le sangi nan dole ñunu saye nan ye siengolu sang nan min yalon ko sembo mo wari atalantala molte son to lam marso ko blawdu la yaja bebe faare wolal mo dole fo be ja man nasari fo ya man doge e kan talli tadi dongol ta de ya muda de ya ya juo so de ko man ni bulal ya londi den isi bulo ko wala na en nyaaw nyam.
The Serekunda market is one of the biggest markets in the Gambia with hundreds of people involved in various businesses. But business owners here said they have been hurt by several of government's emergency regulations. Non-essential vendors like Babakar, a cosmetic seller, and Omar Jallo, a used clothing seller, said it will be preferable for taxes levied on them to be reduced by half because they are not earning as expected.
Survive on these things. We survive on second hand. We never have any job from home to market. So the 3 hours don't satisfy us. So that's our main problem. Every day before 3, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they come. Everybody open, close. So that don't give us the satisfaction. We are the Gambians. We are the youths. We don't want to steal. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to rob. That's why we are doing this second-hand cloth, our main business.
I call digënté tri bi ba 7 mi ngi do fi mëna jaay sax 5000 yu baax ta nga yow yaangi wara am conteneur génné ko ci port bi lénen ak lénen taxi bu jot nga fay té ñom seen bop ñu ngi tek li ta amul ben taxi bo xamné wañu nañ ko doom adamay xam nga loolu tim dafa metti ci business ta businessman lepp lu muy duggal ci caisse nguur amul kenn ko fi mëna duggal da ngay xol conteneur bu ñew dana fay 200 wala 300000 nga wara génné sa conteneur ñu xey ñu la do bi sa place loolu di metti na wax deug yalla neexu ci business.
Due to the coronavirus regulations implemented by the government, the Serekunda market have been segmented into two. Essential food vendors are allowed to operate from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., while non-essential food vendors from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. The Gambia government said the measures are meant to help curtail the spread of the coronavirus in the country. For AfCFTA TV News, Awa Makalu.
And from that report there by our Makalo, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining update stories. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and you're watching the World Today News Bulletin on AfCFTA TV, and now to the rest of the stories. To matters of the COVID-19, because Gambia registered 244 new cases of COVID-19 on Saturday and Sunday, bringing the total number of cases to 2,116 since the first case was confirmed in March. The 121 National Situation Report released by the Minister of Health on Tuesday indicated that 14 new discharges were effected from the treatment centers, bringing the cumulative number of recoveries to 415. For the first time, no deaths were recorded. The report indicated that 725 new laboratory test results were received from the Medical Research Council of the Gambia and National Public Health Laboratory. Of these, 4 new tests returned indeterminate, and out of the 274 tests conducted, 30 were repeated. 6 people who were newly taken into quarantine were Senegalese soldiers and a Malaysian national, all of whom entered the country through Amdalai village in the North Bank region. The country currently has 211 people in quarantine, 1,638 active cases, 187 probable cases, and a crude case fatality ratio of 3.0%. And from that latest update, next we head to Sudan, because hundreds of people rallied in Khartoum on Monday calling for justice and peace on the first anniversary of a transitional government following the ouster of the long-term autocrat Omar al-Bashir. Bashir is currently on a trial over the military coup that brought him to power after he was overthrown by the army in April 2019 following a wave of mass protests against his 3-decade rule. Fatuma Tafati has more details of that in this report.
Protesters on Monday held signs and banners as they chanted in front of the Sudanese cabinet office in Khartoum, calling for peace and justice during the first transitional anniversary after al-Bashir was disposed from office. Protesters claimed that the demands and objectives of the revolution have not yet been achieved and said that there is no government in existence in Sudan as at now. A member of the executive committee of the Women's Union, Rwanda Ubaid, said that the demands and objectives of the revolution have not been met with regards to the economy, completing structures and achieving the peace that their fellow comrades have died for.
We see that the demands and objectives of the revolution have not yet been achieved with regards to the economy. Achieving peace as described in the constitutional document, completing the structures and levels of power, the people's livelihood and other fundamental issues that have emerged. This is what our fellow comrades and martyrs have desired for.
Salah Mustafa, a protester, said they need food to eat and drinks along with fuel and electricity. He said that these are the simplest rights they need, since the transitional government has nothing to show as achievement in 1 year.
Honorable Prime Minister Hamdok, where will you cross and win? We the Sudanese people are suffering both at the economic level and on the security level. We have not seen specific achievements to count for you. So far, you have the year of the Prime Minister of Sudan, and we do not know whether you cannot achieve as a government. Are soldiers disrupted for your business? Do you have freedom to make decisions? How long will you cross and how long will you win? We the Sudanese people want to eat and drink. We want fuel and electricity. We want the simplest rights in life. So far, we did not see an achievement with our own eyes. When Bashir fell, the dollar was equivalent to 95 pounds. Today, the dollar is equivalent to 175 pounds.
Omar al-Bashir was disposed in 2019 by the army in Sudan after a nationwide protest calling for him to step down. Since then, a sovereignty council appointed Abdullah Hamdok as prime minister, but his ability and capacity to govern and deliver results have been questioned by the Sudanese people. For AfCFTA TV, Fatma Tafati.
And from the report there to Sudan, next to Ghana, because the Ghanaian government has handed over the newly constructed secretariat building of the Continental Free Trade Area to the African Union Commission. The AfCFTA secretariat is expected to coordinate and promote free trade within Africa. Many countries still have their borders closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but more than 1 billion people are expected to do business among themselves when the Continental 3 areas start operations. Details of that in this report.
A new dawn for economic integration in Africa as the flags of Ghana and the African Union go up in Accra. The handing over of this building means it will now serve as the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
Ghana has fully discharged all her obligations and commitments agreed with the AU Commission. And we are today handing over a fully furnished and befitting office space in a secured and easily accessible location within the business center of Accra as the permanent secretariat of the AfCFTA. We have provided also an appropriate furnished residential accommodation as the official residence of the Secretary General of the AfCFTA.
The Continental Free Trade Agreement, when operational, will allow 1.2 billion people in Africa to trade among themselves. The launch of the Free Trade Agreement was postponed in July due to COVID-19. The Secretariat now has the task of ensuring that all is set for a grand launch of its implementation from January 2021.
Africa continues to be trapped in a colonial economic model, which requires that we aggressively implement the AfCFTA as one of the tools for effecting a fundamental structural transformation of Africa's economy. We have to take action now. We have to take action to dismantle the colonial economic model that we inherited.
Officials of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area will continue their work at this secretariat in Accra. While COVID-19 lingers, they will also be holding virtual meetings to finalize all negotiation deals by member states that have signed to the pact. This building behind me was formerly Ghana's Export Trade House. The people working here promoting the exports of cocoa, fish and handicrafts to countries far and wide. Repurposed to the Africa Trade House, it will from now symbolize Africa's ambitions to promote trade within the continent itself from one African country to another. Many African countries still have their borders closed due to COVID-19, even as they lift restrictions to improve their economy. But despite the surge of COVID-19 on the continent, the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area says it is poised to navigate through the challenges and implement the agreements from next year.
And from the report in Accra, Ghana, finally to Rwanda, because more than 100 bodies of victims of the Rwandan genocide were found in the country's Nyornjan district. 2 mass graves have been unearthed in the backyard of a residential house belonging to a former member of the notorious Interahamwe military group, which played a central role in the genocide. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The bodies were recovered near an intersection on the road in Nyamirambo sector of Kigali city at the home of Simbizi Françoise and Mukakarira Petronile. In that area, Simbizi had set up a roadblock during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Simbizi was convicted of genocide crimes and died in prison. Survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi in Chivugiza South say that many people were killed at the location known as Kuryanyuma because that is where they would pass looking for a way to get out of Kigali and flee. Chamatari Eugene was born here in Chivugiza. The genocide against the Tutsi took place when he was 14. He did not know the whereabouts of the bodies of his loved ones killed during the genocide, yet his neighbors not only knew the information and withheld it, but Mukakarira Petronile was actually even his teacher at one point. I just know he was an important man. The fact that he had a roadblock up here on the street shows he was. His wife taught me in primary, and her husband, because of what he did, he was imprisoned, but I was surprised to hear that there are such people here, yet she taught me. I was shocked to hear that the person who educated me is the same person who had such hidden secrets. And how does Eugene feel now after learning the truth? Let me tell you honestly, when I find out everything and finally recover my mother's body and bury her properly the way I did the others, I will be happy. However, I am also sad that the people I was always around were the same people that hid the truth from me. Disagreements that took place on the 13th of this month between those who knew about the location of the bodies in the pits were the trigger for the start of the search on the 15th of this month. The president of Ibuka in Nyarugenge district, Rutaisire Masengo, has noted that such acts of concealing information of the bodies of genocide victims are hampering the process of unity and reconciliation. This is a tragedy that after 26 years we recover the bodies of our people and not getting the information from the family that betrayed us, but deriving it from thin air is a very sad thing. Unity and reconciliation that we are always taught does not sink in with some people. The fact that she has been sleeping on people's bodies for 26 years is a pity, especially since there was a rumor that this woman, Petronille, a teacher, had spread the word here and her husband, Simbizi Françoise, was falsely accused, then later on imprisoned.
François bamubeshye abaturanyi bamufungishiriza umugabo.
The Nyarugenge District Executive Administrator, Ngabonziza Emi, is urging the public to provide information on the whereabouts of the victims of genocide against the Tutsi, because when they are found to be withholding information, they are punishable by law. It is important for them to realize that wherever you are, if you keep information to yourself, yet you have it, even though you didn't participate in the atrocities against the Tutsi during the genocide, it still means that you are guilty. However, if you take the step to come forward and provide the information willingly, you will instead be seen as a Rwandan who wants the country to develop for unity and reconciliation, to make progress, which is commendable. However, if you conceal information and investigations like the one that happened here uncover, you will be prosecuted by court of law. So far, 2 deep pits have been discovered in the compound, but reports indicate that there could be a third located under a house and also containing bodies. Others who may have knowingly withheld information are also being investigated. Martina Abera, RTV News.
And that report there in Rwanda finally brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also log on our website on africa.tv. You can also again join my colleague Sona Trunkara at 19:30 GMT or 7:30 local time for the Gambia 24 news bulletin. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.
Debunking COVID-19 myths. Myth 1.
I'm not scared of COVID-19. Africans cannot contract the virus.
COVID-19 can affect anyone of any race.